I understand you. Winters seem to last an eternity, and we're all eager to dive into the summer. But to really be ready to jump in the pool as soon as the heat arrives, we need to open it as soon as possible. It's much more encouraging when the water is blue, and it's also a lot easier to start the pool right when we do it early in the season, even if there's still some ice left. The first step is obvious. If you've installed the winter cover, you'll remove it. If you have an opaque cover that is waterproof, you'll have to pump out the water to remove the debris at the same time, and then carefully remove the cover afterwards. With a mesh cover, the water has passed through it, but there could be some debris left on the surface. We recommend removing the major part of the debris and then remove the cover carefully. Ask a friend to help to avoid that the remaining debris fall into the pool. You'll need to properly clean the cover with a garden hose, let it dry outside, and then store it. You'll also need to remove the elastic system on which the cover rests. You can leave the hooks at the ends. It will help a lot for the next installation. Today we'll proceed step by step. We're going to reconnect the pool to make it operational. If you followed their closing advice, you may have taken some pictures. Now it's time to find them, as it will be really helpful today. It's also a good idea to have everything you need for the day at hand, like products, accessories, or tools, to avoid the hassle of going back and forth while you're in the opening process. It's also a good idea to take a look around the pool to see if there were any breakages during the winter. And if yes, fix everything at the same time. Ready? Let's start with the skimmer. Understanding why you're doing each step makes it easier to open the pool. A little trick is to remember the path that the water takes. As everything starts at the skimmer, we'll start by removing the winter protection from the skimmer. Then we'll remove the foam blocks and the backer rod that we have installed in the bottom. We'll take the opportunity to put back the basket, the door, and the lid. The next step is to let the water flow from the skimmer to the pump that you have previously put back in place. To do so, we'll cut the tie wrap, remove the backer rod that is inside the pipe, but to avoid overflows during this step, we'll first close the water access to the pipe. We'll use our three-way valve that will slightly unscrew to bring it back to this position that is pointing to the pipe that we want to close. Then, we can put everything back in place. When putting the pipes back in place during the process, it's a good time to lubricate our gasket seals. Whatever the pipes, we apply some lubricant and put them back in place. The next step is to connect the pump to the filter. If you follow their closing procedures, the pump basket and the drain plugs are already in place. If not, don't forget to put them back before continuing with the different steps. So to connect the pump to the filter, whether it's a sand or cartridge filter, the connection is at the same place. The only difference is that with a cartridge filter, as it's the case here, we have a three-way valve. Otherwise, it will be a direct connection. We'll simply put back the union and reconnect the backwash hose. Before turning the sand filter back on, we'll reinstall the different components: the manometer, the side glass, and the drain plug. We'll start with the drain plug. The side glass, be careful with the gasket seal. Lubricate it and put it back in place. When installing the manometer, wind its threads with Teflon tape and ensure to not tighten it too much. For the cartridge filter, during the closing process, we've already put the drain plug in place. If not, this is the first step. After the winter, there's a good chance that your manometer looks like this. It's one of the reasons why we'll change it yearly. To replace the manometer on the cartridge filter, we need to start by unscrewing the butterfly nut at the bottom of the lid. Now that the lid is open, we'll put our clean cartridge back in place. We'll secure it at the bottom before putting back the lid and screw it. The next step is the moment when the water exits the filter to flow to the pool water return or the heat pump. If you have a chlorinator, an ozonator, or a salt system, there is one very important thing that I will draw your attention to. When reconnecting the piping, whether from a cartridge or scent filter, it's the same thing. Be careful to reconnect the inlet to the inlet and the outlet to the outlet. It's clearly identified on each filter, and the opposite connection could cause you a lot of trouble. If you have a water heater, it's time to take the outlet pipe off the filter and connect it to the inlet of your water heater. Again, be careful. The inlet and outlet are clearly indicated on each device. We'll remove the plugs, and the antifreeze will flow. It is a non-toxic antifreeze, so you don't need to rinse the device. We'll connect the pipes. The one for the outlet goes directly to the pool water return or the sanitation system. Now we'll install your salt system. If you have one, this union is already installed inside the pool water return. We'll screw one end of the cell. On the other side, we'll connect the pipe coming either from the water heater or from the filtration system. It's the end with the power cord of the cell that will go directly inside the control box. We'll also connect the electrical supply. The salt system is now functional, but we will not turn it on yet. We'll first do a good cleaning of the pool water. We'll also calibrate the water to know how much salt we should add for the season. We'll also wait a good 24 hours to let the salt dissolve before turning it on. Note that the salt system will not work if the water is not at least 65 degrees Fahrenheit, so you may have to use chlorine in the meantime. If you have an ozone sanitation system, we'll look at the steps to put it back in place. The most important thing is to first identify the direction of water circulation. Refer to the arrow. This is the water inlet, so coming from the water heater or the filter. At the other end is the water outlet. It's the connection that will direct you to the water return. The ozonator is connected to the control box with the green wire that must be replaced yearly to ensure proper operation. We'll connect it to the end. We'll wait until the pool is running before connecting to the power supply of the ozonator. The chlorinator is installed differently from other water sanitation systems. The chlorinator inlet will be connected between the pump and the filter. The inlet is where you'll find the dial control valve that controls how much water will flow inside the chlorinator. The outlet will be just before the pool water return. The last step before raising the pool water level is to connect the last elements of our water line to the water return. A pipe coming from the filter, the water heater, or the sanitation system, depending on your installation. For people residing in Quebec City, Lévis, and the surroundings, we'll now remove the yellow plug that we've inserted in the water return. Now that the water return is clear for everyone, it's time to insert the 3 parts inside the water return. The eye must be oriented at 45 degrees downward and in the opposite direction of the skimmer. That's it. Our equipment is well placed. We must reach 3/4 of the skimmer, after which we can put the pump in function. We'll still ensure that all the valves on our water line are in the open position. This position allows the water to flow from the bottom drain and skimmer to the pump. With a cartridge filter, you have a 3-way valve at the pump outlet. We'll ensure to close the backwash position by pointing it in this direction, leaving the path to the filter open. At the cartridge filter outlet, we'll also ensure that the valve is in the direction of the pipe. It's in this position that it's open. We made sure that everything is well in place. It's now time to start the pump. We'll open the valve to release the air and close it as soon as the water comes out. If you followed all the steps in this opening video, your pool is now running and it is a good time to pour in some Trévi and use the products in your opening kit that you'll have selected according to your type of sanitation system. You can also take advantage of your first swim to reinstall your ladder or steps. Of course, you'll want to swim in clean and clear water, so my tip is a trip to the store, especially for your first water test of the season. It will help you get off on the right foot and simplify your water maintenance throughout the summer. Also, take this opportunity to make a list of the products you will need. Some may be out of date, and it's also a good time to renew your droplets or strips to do your water analysis at home. For useful tips and advice, visit trevi.ca. Have a nice summer!